Hi guys, and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be putting on a full face of Chanel, and I'm going to be using a couple of the new release products, the Les Beiges, the Healthy Glow powder, and I think the one that I'm going to use today, I'm just going to have a look. Yes, I'm going to use today medium coral, and then one of the new single eyeshadows. I'm going to use the gold colored one. That's the one, I think it's 224 in Antique. So I'm going to use that with another Chanel eyeshadow, and then some of my old favorites as well. So skincare has been done for the morning, and the last step is always sunscreen, and my skincare was early, about 6 o'clock this morning. It's now about 9:45 in the morning, and about quarter of an hour ago I reapplied my sunscreen again, and it is my favorite one. It is the Canmake Mermaid one, my absolute favorite. I have backups of this. I had about 8 in my cupboard, and I'm maybe down now to about 4 or 5. So when I get down to about 2 or 3, then I order a whole lot more from Yes Style, usually about 8 or 10 at a time. I just love it so much. And as always, it is listed and linked in the description box below. So for primer today, I'm going to use the Perfecting Makeup Primer, the Chanel one of my favorites. I've already been through a tube of this. This is my second tube. I just absolutely love it. It just gives just a beautiful base for any foundation. And I also recently just picked up, that's the limited edition. It's the Chanel No5 L'EAU, and that's in that beautiful glass bottle. And that's the perfume that I'm going to be wearing today, and I'll put that on once I've applied all of my makeup. So for the foundation today, I have let my primer sit for 1 or 2 minutes. I'm going to use the Chanel, it's the Ultra Le Tint, and this was reformulated. It would probably be a couple of years ago now, and I like the original formula, and I also really like this one as well. And this is in the shade B30, and this foundation goes really well with my oily skin. But I've also seen videos where people with combination to normal and even dry skin like this foundation as well. It really gives a lovely finish. It's long wearing, and even though it's winter here now in New Zealand, this is one that I can wear all year round, and it's definitely a great foundation in those warmer months. So I'm going to apply this foundation today using a brush. I'm going to use a Sonia G1. This also applies really well using a beauty sponge as well. It's really just up to you, whichever method you prefer for applying foundation. So I haven't uploaded a video for a couple of weeks, and the reason is my father passed away last year. It was on June the 13th. And I have 3 brothers, but myself and my younger brother, we were executors of the estate, and he had a small farm, and we just put that on the market for sale a little while ago. So it's been pretty busy this year, and it has now sold. So we were just in the process of just dividing up the furniture and other bits and pieces in the house, and then things that people didn't want, then giving it to what we call op shops, second-hand shops, and getting them to pick up the rest of the stuff as well. It is a huge job being an executor of an estate, and it does help that I have a law background, so it makes dealing with things quite a bit easier. But the actual work of it is quite involved, and a lot cleaning out a house as well. But one thing with cleaning out the house, when you first start, we first started probably not long after Dad died, and just going through any personal papers and things like that, and things that you just needed to get rid of, or other things that I brought home, just really more personal effects from Dad, and also from Mum as well, because Mum died, it was in 2018, March of 2018, so there was still quite a bit in there from Mum as well. And when you first start out, it can be quite emotional, but as time progresses, it does get easier and easier. And now that the house is nearly empty, there's just a couple of more things now that people are going to pick up, and secondhand places as well are going to pick up. It really comes to the stage where you just almost completely detached. So in saying that it is a busy time being executor, it's actually quite therapeutic as well. So not this week, but next week it is settlement day for the house, and then there's just a few little last bits and pieces to be tidied up, and then it's going to be all over. And if I include from the time Mum was sick, she was diagnosed with cancer, and then not long after that my dad was diagnosed with dementia, and that's a whole story within itself. It's actually been 7 years since that first began, and as well as being executor, I was also power of attorney for Mum and Dad as well, both for health and also for property. So it has been a tough 7 years. But when I say that, I'm not the one that was diagnosed with cancer, and I'm not the one that was diagnosed with dementia and had to go through that. And even though cancer is an awful thing, I would have to say that dementia is pretty much up there as well. That is just an awful, awful disease. But now that it's all coming to an end, no doubt I'm going to be pretty exhausted, I think. It's always just sort of in the back of your mind, and you're always sort of thinking about it. So once this is over and everything is all settled and finalized, I just think there's just going to be this huge weight lifted off my shoulders, because it is quite a big responsibility being executor and doing the right thing and making sure that everyone gets their fair share and things like that. For the concealer today, I'm going to use one of my favorite ones, and this is the Chanel. This is the Sublimage. It is a beautiful concealer. The jar that it comes in can be a little messy, and I am slowly getting through this because of my channel. I also have quite a few other concealers as well, but this is definitely up there and one of my favorite ones. I think, even though it would suit people of all ages, I really think this is a beautiful concealer for those with more mature skin like mine. It has really beautiful skincare ingredients in it, and it's just super flattering. It has a good medium coverage, and it sets down but doesn't dry down, so it doesn't emphasize the wrinkles that I have, and just looks beautiful all day.
The river flows one direction, and fishes, they follow the flow. But what if one tried to mention that there was much more to explore? Here I am, I have a plan, I'm living free, don't know where I'll end.
And I'm just going to do a light dusting of powder. I'm going to use the Chanel, the Natural Finish Loose Powder. This is in the shade 30, and I'm just going to use it applying a BK Beauty brush. This is really soft and fluffy, this brush, so just puts on a small amount, and it is the 102. So I'm just going to apply just a very, very light dusting. And as I mentioned at the start of the video, I'm going to be using the newly released, it's the Chanel Les Beiges Healthy Glow Sun-Kissed Powder. The one I'm going to use today is medium coral. So this is medium coral. I'm sure you've seen quite a few videos on this. And I've just turned down the light so you can take a closer look. And I'm going to use a Sonia G brush to apply the bronzer. I really love the formula of these. There is a little bit of a sheen there. As it says, it's a sun-kissed powder. But it's not too much. It's just this really beautiful, beautiful, subtle glow. Now, I have all of the shades, and I think I've tried them out all now. I've used a couple of different ones on videos, and there's still a couple that I haven't used yet for you guys. And I think it is the deeper rose, and then there is the deep mauve one The bronzers in that are fairly deep, and you've got to go, well, I have to go fairly lightly with those ones. Whereas this one, it isn't too bad. I can just dip my brush in and away I go. But with those deeper ones, I just have to just be that little bit more careful. But in saying that, I think all of the palettes that I picked up, they're just really, really beautiful. So I will get back to the blush and the highlighter from this really beautiful palette, but first I'm going to do the eyeshadow. So as I was saying, I'm going to use the gold color. It is number 224, and this is the one Antique. I'm just going to take out a couple of, there's a sponge applicator and a brush with these single eyeshadows. I've used this shade about 3 or 4 times now, and I do think it is a really, really beautiful shade. And I think this is a beautiful gold, and it really is an antique type shade. It's not too yellow. Really, really gorgeous. And I have purchased quite a few of these Chanel single eyeshadows, and the one that I usually pair with it is Brun Talpa, and I've used that in another video, and this is a really, really beautiful shade. But I thought what I'll do today is use one of those Chanel, these were the loose eyeshadows that were released last year, and this is 404, and there were sort of mixed views on this. People either really love them or they didn't think much of them at all. I really like them. I think they go on beautifully, they last really well, and they are just beautiful shadows. I think for a lot of people they thought that they were quite messy to apply, but I don't think they are. So what I'm going to do is just give it a shake and just tap it back in. And either what you can do is press the sponge on the end, and you can apply it like that. And when you do, I don't get any fallout. So I'm just going to put a little bit of the shade just in the outer corner, and I'm going to blend it out in a minute. And then what I do is just leave the top off and have it sitting like this on my table in front of me, and if I still need a little bit more of the shade, I'll pick some up. I just use a brush and just tap it onto the sponge and pick up a little bit more that way. And you can do that initially as well if you don't want to apply it directly to your eye. But I think these blend out beautifully. And using the sponge directly onto my eyelid like that, I haven't got any fallout. I think probably the secret to it is like I did, you just press the sponge just against the inner part of the container in here, and then you don't tend to get any fallout. I really love the shade. There's also another shade that has, I can't remember the number of it, but it has a little bit of purple in it as well, and that's really, really gorgeous. So I might need a little bit more of this. So as I was saying, I've got this still open, and I just tap the brush against the sponge and just pick up a little bit more product. Then I'm just going to take the Sonji, this is the pencil one, stay with the shade, and I'm going to put some of this on my lower lash line. So just tap it into the sponge there, pick up the pigment, and just run this under my lower lash line. And then just going back to the brush, and I haven't picked up any more of the eyeshadow. So I'm just going to blend out a little bit here, and just the remains of the shades, there's hardly any pigment, but just sweep the rest of it over my eyelid. So you still have that depth in the outer corner, and just a little bit of the shade through here. And then we'll go into the Chanel single eyeshadow. This is the Antique shade, and I've applied this a couple of different ways. Either I use a brush like this, and this one is a Sonia G. This is the flat definer, or any other smaller dense brush that you have, and just press the shade in carefully, or you can use the applicator as well. So what I might do today is use the applicator, and this is a metallic shade. So sometimes there can be a little bit of fallout, but I find when you use something like the sponge applicator, not only do you get a bit more of the pigment, but you definitely get less fallout, because it tends to just adhere to the sponge more, and then you really just pressing it on and not sweeping it around. And I just think just those two shades together just looks really pretty. This is such a beautiful shade. So now I'm going to put on some eyeliner. I'm going to use the Chanel one. This is in the shade Espresso. And for the mascara, I'm going to use the Le Volume, but this is in the shade Blue Night. I only just purchased this probably about a month ago now. I've done a video using this shade and I am just in love with it, and I'm going to be buying a backup of it. It is just such a gorgeous shade. Even though it says blue, it still has a lot of depth to it, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. And now we'll go back to the Les Beiges palette and going to use the blush and also the highlighter. But first of all, you can just tap between the two. But today I will just use the blush first. This is a BK Beauty Angie Hot and Flashy brush, and this is number A507. But as usual with all the makeup that I'm putting on today and the brushes that I use, or the brushes that are available, I do have listed and linked below. Just picking up just a tiny bit more. This is a really, really beautiful shade. And even though it looks quite intense in the pan, and it does, you can go quite easy and just build it up to the level of pigment that you want. I find them just really user friendly to apply, and I think that is enough. So now I'm going to go into the highlighter, and I'm going to grab a Rapha brush, and this is number 18, and just run that through the highlighter. And I'm just going to put this just on the high points over my cheekbones. But as I said, you can just tap the brush just between the highlighter and blush and put them both on together. And you do get this really beautiful sort of lit from within glow all over the cheek. But today I'm just going to pop it on just on the cheekbones. And for lipstick today, I'm going to use one of the Chanel the Rouge Cocoa Blooms. This one has been around for quite a while. This is number 110, and it is the shade Chance. I really like the Chanel Rouge Cocoa Blooms. They are really moisturizing, and they do have quite a bit of pigment. They haven't got huge lasting power, but the formula of them is just really beautiful, and I really love the shade. And last but certainly not least, this is the new Chanel No. 5 L'EAU, and this is the packaging that it comes in. It has a silver sort of egg-shaped line around there. It's really lovely, but the packaging of this is just absolutely gorgeous. It comes in this limited edition bottle, and I really love this fragrance. Those of you that might not like the Chanel, the original No. 5, may like this one because it's much more lighter. It's floral. It's got a hint of citrus in it too. It's just really beautiful. So here is the bottle. It is just gorgeous, and the lid just pulls off, and it is a pump spray. It feels very weighty in the hand, and I just think it's really gorgeous, and I'm thrilled to have this in my collection. I think it's beautiful. So I think I'll leave my hair up, but here is the finished look, and altogether I just think it is so pretty. The old favourite, the Chanel Ultra Le Teint, great foundation, really works beautifully with my oily skin. But like I was saying, I have seen videos, those with normal towards dry skin, that also enjoy this foundation as well. It is a solid medium coverage. And even though it's long wearing, it's more on the matte side, but I would say it is a very soft matte. It doesn't dry down. It doesn't emphasize texture on the skin. It's a really beautiful foundation. The Chanel Les Beiges that came out, the Healthy Glow Sun-Kissed Powders, as I mentioned, I have all of the palettes. I love them all. I just think they are beautiful. They have this really gorgeous sheen to them. It's very subtle, but also very Le Beiges, where you just get this beautiful healthy glow for summer. And even though it is winter here now in New Zealand, I don't mind using products where you get that beautiful summer glow when you're getting into the depths of winter. Sometimes it's nice to do a summer makeup look for a change, although I imagine the fall products will start dropping fairly soon for all the different brands. So the bronzer is just beautiful. As I said, the other two palettes that are more deeper in shade, I do have to go a little bit easier with them, but they still look really beautiful on. And I love this shade blush, this coral. I just think it is gorgeous and it just screams summer. Really beautiful. I'm also loving the highlighters as well. For me, with a highlighter, I don't want something that has moonbeams on my cheekbones. I prefer more of a subtle type of shimmer that just gives that hint of just that healthy glow on your cheekbones without having moonbeams sticking out. That's just what I prefer, and I think they do this really well. So really pleased with all of these palettes. The single eyeshadows are lovely. I have about 6 or 7. I may even have 1 or 2 more than that. This shade in particular is just beautiful. Those that love those gold shades, in particular that more of that antique shade, I just think this is gorgeous, and it hasn't got too much yellow in it. It's just really beautiful. And these loose eyeshadows, as I was saying, people either love them or they hated them. I absolutely love them. I don't find the application, the way you put them on, messy at all. You just have to get used to with the sponge tip, but it's actually really user friendly. They blend beautifully and they also last really well. Really gorgeous product. And the really lovely Chanel Coco Rouge Bloom lipsticks, I think they are gorgeous, and in particular the shade is beautiful too, number 110 in Chance. There is, I have about 5 or 6 of them, but there's a couple of shades. There's this one, and I can't remember the name of the other one, but it is one of my favorite shades within that Rouge Coco Blooms as well. Beautifully pigmented. You would have seen in the video that I just applied this really lightly. I could get more pigment if I want to with a swipe. So what I tend to do is just dab it through here and dab it through the bottom, and then just press your lips together and get the pigment over and just get more of a wash of a pigment, because I do prefer that with my lipsticks, but I really love the formula of them. The Chanel Limited Edition No5 L'EAU, and the perfume isn't limited edition, it's the same perfume that's been around for a few years now, but the bottle that it comes in is limited edition, and it is a beauty. Just absolutely gorgeous. So not just Chanel has this for sale, there's a couple of other retailers as well, so I will link those down below if you're interested in picking this up. Or it would even make a really lovely gift if this isn't your thing, or it's not a fragrance that you enjoy, but you know someone that really does like this fragrance. This would make just a really beautiful and really special gift. So that's it for today's video. I would love it if you gave it a like and subscribed, and I will see you next time. Bye.